So some of you, hopefully all of you will know who we TfL are, but some of you might not. So who are we? So we are a public sector organisation. We have about 28,000 colleagues that work for us, and we are responsible for running London's day-to-day transport network. So hopefully you all arrived this morning, you had a lovely, pleasant journey. Most of you or all of you would have used TfL's transport network. That could have been on the tube, our bus services, walking or cycling. So hopefully you had a lovely, pleasant journey. Yeah, great to see you all today. So if we could move on to the next slide. I've got to use this clicky thing. There we go. So I want to set the scene a bit because our overall talent strategy really does set the scene for how we decided we wanted to approach succession management at TfL. So we recognised coming out of the pandemic in 2021 that in order to deliver against our strategic priorities as an organisation and mitigate some of those risks around attraction and retention and ensure TfL is a great place to work where everyone can thrive, we really needed our people to be motivated and engaged with the work that they do day in, day out, with the right skills needed in the right places to build an agile and inclusive culture. And it's really interesting hearing some of the conversation about the 9-box model, and we did actually use that. But after the pandemic, with all of the changes that we were seeing with the workforce and around us, we decided that we needed something fresh and something new. So this is where our new talent approach comes in. So the fundamental principles of our new approach focus on being completely employee-led and inclusive to all. So we recognise at TfL that everybody is talent. We want to make sure everyone can work, grow and move to support their own career paths to deliver their best work. And our strategy really empowers individuals to do that and take accountability for their own unique learning paths, with their line manager, of course, being there for support along that journey. Delivery of our talent strategy really goes hand in hand with our long-term vision of being that strong green heartbeat for London, and alongside our values of being caring, open and adaptable in how we work. So, what are our key components of our talent strategy? So firstly, we launched our readiness model. This was designed to help our colleagues identify the right development for them through regular, open and honest career and development conversations. Colleagues can choose between 3 states of readiness. Firstly, there's strengthen, so that would be colleagues that feel that they want to strengthen more in their current role, that they might be happy where they are. Then we've got stretch, so it might be that a colleague wants to take on a new broader challenge, but still wants to continue learning and investing in their current role. And then we've got ready for that move. So for those in the move category, we'd look at both promotional and lateral moves, so really indicating that they're ready for their next step. And all of those 3 categories of readiness are completely fluid. And that depends on an individual's career aspirations, their strengths, how they're performing, and of course their individual circumstances, which I know we spoke about earlier today. We also evolved our performance management process, really promoting regular performance conversations and constructive feedback, setting and agreeing expectations. And we also launched new performance ratings, which really focus on evidence-based delivery against both objectives and also our values I mentioned earlier on. So to bring this all together, we wanted a tech system to support this. That was really important that we had this. So we actually went from online SharePoint sites, which I'm sure we're all quite familiar with, to SAP SuccessFactors, which we rebranded as My Journey at TfL. And this was a real game changer for us because this is now our one-stop shop for all things performance and development. So it allows both colleagues and people leaders to record live talent information, such as conversations that I had around performance and development, and also critical information such as who have we got that's a flight risk, who have we got in potentially critical roles, and actually who have we got on our succession plans as well. So this slide here just shows you some of the wealth of data that we now have at our fingertips. We've got a fantastic reporting team at TfL who pull together reports such as these using a tool called Power BI, which some of you potentially might, I can see people nodding, some of you potentially might have. Fantastic. And all HR and people leaders have access to this data. And what we're able to do is we're able to actually manipulate this data in certain ways to tell us certain stories. And this is really helping us become a much more evidence-based, data-driven organisation where we can see risks and themes and are able to put in appropriate mitigations against these. And we do have succession reports that look very similar to this, which tells us who have we got on our succession plans, and also who have we got, for example, that's a successor that also might be a flight risk as well. So I'm going to hand over to Erica now to talk to you about our strategic workforce planning approach with succession. Nice.
Thank you, Mollie. Thank you. So as Mollie said, this is very much linked to our talent strategy, but we also have several other reasons why succession management is important to us. So firstly, our age profile is a real issue. We've got the number of 25-year-olds coming into the industry has halved. So obviously we are lacking in some of the talent pools, particularly around engineering and tech and data. We've also got a corporate risk. For the very first time, we've had a corporate risk around attraction and retention, as well as resourcing. So for us, resourcing is always very reactive and not very proactive, which is why we really want to embed succession management in our organization. And for the first time, strategic workforce planning is on our business plan, and that really gives it a lot of weight. So the way that we actually approach succession management is we're asking the business to look at their critical and hard to fill roles. The reason we want them to look at this is because we want to look at the roles that are going to have an immediate impact if we don't have a successor in place for those roles. As part of that, we're also having them look at the skills associated with those roles and the future skills. So we talked a little bit earlier about that future lens. That's an area that's always been a bit difficult for us, having the impact of what's happening outside. Being a public sector organization often changes what our business strategy is. So it's often really difficult for senior managers to think about the future and think about what skills they might need. So as we identify those critical and hard to fill roles and the skills, that's going to help us write our strategic workforce plan. We'll know what skills we have and what skills we're lacking and what sort of workforce we're going to need in the future. And then, as Mollie said, all of this is recorded in our My Journey online, so we can see we've got the data, we understand what's happening. And then those plans are put in place, so we identify the successors for those critical and hard to fill roles. And we have a methodology for those critical and hard to fill roles. So those are around whether it has an impact on our reputation or our ability to deliver on our strategy. Those hard to fill roles are those ones that in the immediate future, they're quite expensive for us to, say, put in temporary workers. So once we've got our plans in place, we want them to constantly be reviewed. And as part of our end-of-year process and part of the continuous conversation, we're always looking at action planning and reviewing those succession plans to see where somebody's views of what they might want their career to look like changes, what roles that were critical at one time may not be critical anymore. So what has really helped informed us, as Mollie said, is having some evidence. So we've been very lucky with the reporting team to have a strategic workforce planning dashboard. And this is just a sample of some of the information we have. So you can see at the top there that we've got the TFL retention, we've got our org retention. So that is where you might have movement between different departments. And we've got our turnover. So our turnover, you can see, is only 5.8% in the last year, which is quite low. But as a public sector organization, we're not really used to having a lot of movement. We've got a lot of individuals that come and they stay for a very long time. So when we do have a lot of movement, it's quite difficult for us to keep up with that. And obviously the turnover overall for the company isn't that bad, but as you move into particular areas of the business, like tech and data and engineering, that tends to move up between 10 and 13%. So we can also link this information to our readiness and performance, as Mollie mentioned. So we can see of our leavers, how many people were in that move box, how many people were, if you like, high performers that have left the company. Is that because we haven't given them a role to move to? We've told them that they're talent and that they're ready for a role and they've moved on. And that's really helping to bring a picture together for us. So as I mentioned, we can also see what's happening with those individuals that are leaving. So we are working towards getting a bit more better data around our leavers. So at the moment, we can see that we've got people leaving because of resignation, we have people leaving because of retirement, but for those that have resigned, we still don't have a really good picture on why they're leaving. So we are working towards having a better survey so we can have a better understanding of what we can be doing internally to help our retention. And so using this evidence really helps to get the point across to our senior leaders why we need to have succession management. And I'll let Mollie talk to you about how we actually identify successors.
Cool, thanks Erica. So we just wanted to close our presentation to you today with our 4 key principles for succession management at TfL. And this actually goes back to how I opened around our talent management process. It really does align to that. So the first is, again, that it's employee-led. So we want our employees to feel heard, that when they are telling us that they want to explore opportunities in the business, we can deliver on that, and we're exploring that. Our readiness model means that people leaders should know their people, their career aspirations, and their strengths. And if we can align this with where we need to put in succession plans in place, then the output of that is that we get successors in a role that are really motivated and engaged to develop for when that role becomes vacant, and they can see what that next step looks like for them. Secondly, is that it's really important we use the data that we've got. So people leaders should look at the evidence from readiness and performance conversations to help understand who may be ready to step into a role and when. So who have we got ready? Who have we got ready in that move category for readiness? And who have we got in those strengthen and stretch boxes that might perhaps not be ready to move right now, but potentially in 12 months' time or 2 years' time, what development actions can we put in place now to help them ready to do that if that's in line with something that they want to do? And we also really encourage our people leaders to look not only within their own teams, but also looking outside of their teams for potential successors. And we really encourage lateral moves for development, as well as promotional moves as well. The third, and I've spoken about it before, is around development actions. So ensuring that there are clear development actions in place and we can record those on My Journey. So it's really clear to the individual what they have to do to reach that next step to be a potential successor. And ensuring that there is real clarity on how this aligns to the role requirements as well. And the final point goes back to our values, so where we started, being open and transparent with the successor, as well as with wider colleagues. That's really important for us. We don't want there to be any surprises in this approach. Our whole approach to succession management should be well known with our colleagues, and we really ensure that those conversations are happening throughout the process so that there are no surprises to anybody. So I'll leave it there. Really happy to take questions. Thanks for listening.